So you're going to ask me about the peace rose, I bet.
Yes. Give us a little bit of history and why you are in charge of this. Why did you decide to do this as an action?
Well, for one thing, the history of the rose is absolutely incredible. It was spirited out of France by the person who developed the peace rose to 5 different rose growers in the world, one of them being in the United States. And he sent this rose to him on the day that Hitler crossed into France. And all of the roses were sent on this day. And
where were they sent?
They were sent to America, to Belgium, to England, and I think 2 more places, but which I can't remember. And the rose itself in the United States, of course, you just had a bit of the rose, the root, bare root. The rose in the United States debuted in California, in San Francisco, on the day that Berlin fell.
Say that again.
It had its debut on the day that Berlin fell. And it was called, at that point, the Peace Rose. Later on, every delegate to the UN, as it was forming, got a Peace Rose to bring home. The Peace Rose is grown every place in the world where there is a dedicated monument of some sort to peace. And it's an exquisite rose. And it can be pink, it can be yellow, with a pink edge, but the pink one is also very beautiful as well. It's a variety of it. And I love to have people grow them in their gardens because everybody can relate consciously to peace. If they've lost someone in a war, they can relate to the feeling of peace and even have that rose bush dedicated to that person, if they so desire. Or it can simply be that it is a beautiful rose and it is constantly evoking the presence of peace in your mind when you look at it, because that is its name. So I encourage everybody to grow their own peace rose and to have it in a place of honor, and to look upon it as they uniquely will in relationship to peace.
Always the first step, right, Gwen? Dig a hole.
Yeah, you gotta dig a hole if you're putting a plant in the ground. You couldn't let it sit on top because it'd just die. So, good rose plant usually comes in a 5-gallon container. It's this big. That's because the root system is well developed. So, you've got to dig a deep enough hole and put some compost in the bottom along with some soil that the plant will thrive and have enough room to spread.
And you were saying that this particular rose and most roses need a lot of sun?
Yes, roses need a minimum of 6 hours of sun for a good bloom.
Okay.
There are certain exceptions, like shrub roses can have partial dappled light and still have at least one heat. But for the most part, most roses need 6 hours or more.
Okay. So how deep is this hole again?
So this hole is probably 1.5 feet deep.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting down to pure red clay right now.
So really the perfect situation is to have compost and a good soil.
Compost and some good soil, and
How much of each?
compost is usually about, say, a gallon, which is that smaller container over there. That's a gallon container. Get gallon on the bottom, and then place in the plant and seed it properly so that it's even with the earth. With a rose, you don't want to plant it so deep that it covers what's called the root ball. You want the root ball exposed. In California, it could stand pretty high above the earth. Here in Colorado, no. Just above the level of the earth is good. And then, as I've mentioned, for the first couple of years with a hybrid tea like this, I think it's good to collar them, to protect them from the elements.
So
And
why
from
don't we film that then? We can come back and do that. That would be,
in
yeah,
September?
when you're doing it, yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great. So we can add that to it. Okay, Gwen, what are you mixing here?
Well, this is Epsom salts and rose food and fish emulsion and liquid iron. And you mix that together and put some hot water in it. Dissolve all your powdery stuff. And then add some cold water to that. Put around a gallon of that around the base of your plant. And it's a rose tonic.
Is it this your own special, or is this?
This is something that I learned from a very old Italian gardener.
Aha. And now you're going to put a gallon of water in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this rose tonic feeds every part of the plant, from the roots through the stems to the blooms. And you will notice that the blooms are bigger and better. You apply this rose tonic once a month until the 15th of April here, then you stop.
So through the winter?
Until the 15th of, August.
August,
Sorry.
oh, okay.
Yeah. 15th of August.
Nice,
So,
it looks like a very healthy plant.
It is indeed.
How do you know, how do you know when you pick a healthy plant? What are the signs of a healthy plant?
Well, that it's green is very good.
R.
Yeah, and that it doesn't look compromised or unhappy. It's really very simple.
So do you want to buy plants that have the new little shoots on them? Is that what you're looking for?
Sometimes, yes.
Uh-huh.
These happen to be in a nursery that was gotten at by deer, and the deer just take off the blooms. They say, that's for me.
Yeah.
So
Now, if I want to protect it from the deer, because we get deer up here in Manitou, is there other plants that I can do that with, or what would you suggest?
yes, there are other plants that deer don't like, but they'll ignore them and go directly for the rose. Roses and tulips are about their favorites.